Hey everybody, Glenn here, and I've got something a little bit different for you today. I've got a subscription package, but it's not really a subscription box. I have got a package from Comic of the Month Club, and we've got a nice priority mail package there. Comic of the Month, and you can go to their website at comicofthemonth.club, which I'll link down below. I think that's a pretty clever way of addressing their website. But Comic of the Month is basically, seems like a pretty good way to start collecting comics, to give you some interesting ones that you can read every month. Comic of the Month has a featured kind of a chase comic that they include. It's a valuable comic, and this month I believe it's Guardians of the Galaxy #1 from about 1990. Subscribing to Comic of the Month, your first month is $15.99. Every month after that, I believe, is $19.99, and that's with shipping. So it's $10.99 and $14.99, and then $5 flat rate shipping. You get 8 to 9 comics, and also when you subscribe, you can select your preferences with what you would like to receive, whether it's older comics, 90s comics, more recent comics, comics from particular companies, Marvel, DC, Image, etc. Specific comics themselves, like you could pick, specific lines of comics, particular superhero lines or whatever you have a preference for. Now, there's no guarantee on the preferences, but since this is a individually curated package, it gives them something to go on when they're making up your package. Now, quick disclaimer before I get into this, as opposed to when I was a lot younger, in my teens, I'm not really a comic collector, but I'm a comic fan. So comics are an important part of my growing up, but I haven't collected them in a long time. So my knowledge around comics, especially more recent comics, isn't going to be that great. I'm interested to see what they sent me. And comics are one of those things too that I think a lot of people place a lot of importance on the value of what they're getting, as opposed to some of the other boxes that I do where I really don't get into the values that much. I'm going to put up on the screen as we go through these the approximate value of each comic, so you can kind of get an idea of what you're paying for your $15.99 or $19.99. So I'm excited to get in here, so let's open her up. Don't want to get too crazy on opening this with the sharp stuff. All right, but looks like I kind of have to. There we go. All right, so we get into the priority mail sleeve, and we've got a nice big cardboard package that they use. All right, we've got a little flyer, and this basically talks about this month's comic. So this month's Comic of the Month, where they get their Comic of the Month name from, right, is Guardians of the Galaxy #1. Some things that they also talk about on this sheet is they talk about some improvements to their service. They've included more sequential comics. So you might get the same comic, but number 20, 21, 22, 23 to kind of send you a series, which is cool. They bought some more great comics. They have a referral program now. When you fill out your preferences, you can put who referred you, and then they get something, like a free box or collectible comic or an entry, something that they decide to send to the person that referred you. And then they're going to do some different shipping stuff in the next month, and add-ons. The add-ons, what they're going to start doing in the future is there's two types of comics that they include in this box. There's collector's comics and there's current comics. So basically reading comics and collecting comics. You can add one or both of these types of comics to your subscription. So the collector's version is going to feature one additional collector's issue. So if you get 8 to 9 comics in a regular subscription, you'll get a 10th that'll be a collector's version. And then you can do the current add-on will do the same thing, except it'll feature a very recent comic, or the best new comic that they can come up with. And then a description card explaining why they picked that issue. And that'll actually start in March. So some interesting stuff they got going on. I've seen a couple of unboxings of this, and I think that the biggest takeaway is things that they're improving. For instance, less random comics, more kind of in sequence comics, and also a little more information on why they picked the comics. Now, this is a personally curated box, right? It's individual for each person, so it'd be great to know why they picked that particular comic for you, even though you put your preferences in. So let's get into it and see what comics I've got. All right. Everything's bagged and boarded very nicely. You know, it's the quality bags, quality boards that you guys know that are important to me. So let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 comics in this pile. So what I'm going to do is kind of make an unboxing. We'll be surprised together and see what they are. Bam. We've got Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. This is a super old comic. This is a 12-cent comic. This is Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen, number 96. This looks like a 50s comic or so. So that is very interesting. Again, I love getting these older comics because, you know, they're definitely something that's unique and fun to get. All right. Bam, we've got Cable. So this is a 90s comic. 90s and X-Men type comics were in my preferences list. So this is Cable, number 13. Very cool. Oops. Cable, number 14. So here's where we get into the sequential comics that they're trying to do more of. So I got Cable 13 and 14. Bam. We got Cable 15. So 13, 14, and 15 of Cable. Zoop. JLA, Justice League, number 60. This looks like a, I don't know, hard to tell, but this is a holiday issue of the JLA. Hard to tell when this is from. I'm looking at the symbols, looking very 80s, 90s to me as well.
I was way off.
So we'll check that out. But I love having Plastic Man on the cover there. Very cool. All right, bye-bye. JLA again. This is number 59. So we've got 59 and 60. So there's JLA number 59, featuring the Joker. Captain America number 27. This is from the Marvel Knights imprint. So this is in the 2000s area. Very cool. Cap was one of my preferences as well. This is a very cool cover. I like it. It looks very nice. Oh, Captain America number 26. So we've got 26 and 27. Getting into this sequential again. So really 3 different series that have sequential comics in it. Very cool. So Captain America Marvel Knights again. And lastly, Guardians of the Galaxy number 1. I got the comic of the month. Wow, that is really cool. I'll have to totally see what that is. Now, comic conditions look very good. I'm obviously not a grader, but just from looking at these really quick, they look like they're in great condition. I'm really actually really shocked and really happy and surprised that I got the Guardians of the Galaxy comic. So this is number 1. So I'll have to definitely check that out. I'm tempted to open it up right now and read it. But very cool. So very cool set of comics. I got the comic of the month. You know, by now you've seen some of the values of these comics, so I'm interested to kind of see that. And actually, I think what I'm going to do is value the comics, put them on the screen, and then I'm going to come back real fast and talk about it. Looking at about $37 on the low end. Comics are a tough thing value-wise because, number one, grading is everything, right? So, for instance, this Jimmy Olsen comic, if it were, you know, up there in the 9.6 or so, it'd be worth like $50. But in this condition, it's probably only about good, which means about $8 value. So the range of grading is always really high. And also, it's all about what someone will pay for it. So most of these comics, yeah, they're $3 a piece, but it's all about, you know, what someone will buy it from you from. And then the Guardians is $10 too. So really on the low end, about $37, and I paid $15.99 for it. So it's hard to beat that. That's double. And again, valuing comics is a crapshoot a lot of the time. Especially when these aren't, you know, professionally graded, and I'm not a professional grader. But that kind of gives you an idea of the value you're getting. Obviously, I didn't get this box to resell these comics. I got them to kind of jumpstart comics again, and it was something different that I wanted to show you. But I think if you're looking at value, I think it's a pretty good deal. If you don't have a whole lot of comics and you're looking for, you know, to get something old and to have a shot at something a little more valuable than a standard comic, this is actually a pretty good deal. It's something that even at $20, I think it's pretty good and it's worth it. So that's it for Comic of the Month. Again, I'd love to hear what you guys think about it in the comments below. This is something totally different for the channel, so I'm excited to do it. I don't know if I'm going to keep it up, but we'll kind of see. We'll kind of see how it goes. I might just kind of really get into the, you know, I'm supercharged about getting the Comic of the Month randomly, so that was kind of cool. So who knows, I might keep getting this box. As always, hit me up on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Throw me a like downstairs if you wouldn't mind. Helps the channel a lot. And I will see you in the next video. Adios.